Hello YouTube, my name is Joseph. Welcome back and thank you so much for tuning into the POPSICLE KNIGHT channel. Please don't forget to click the like button if you enjoyed this video, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and feel free to share this content. In today's video, I'll be showcasing POPSICLE KNIGHT's personal build for Eternatus VMAX. Eternatus VMAX, it has 340 HP with the ability Eternal Zone. Basically, as long as you have all Pokemon in play that is a dark type, you can have up to 8 Pokemon in your bench. The moment that you put a non-dark type in that bench, this ability will no longer work and you'll have to discard all the other cards until you have 5 in your bench, just like any other game. And this card is so powerful too, with the attack dread end. With 1 dark type and 1 colorless, you'll be doing 30 damage for each dark Pokemon in play. So with a total of 9 Pokemon in play, that is 8 in your bench and the 1 in your active, then you'll actually be hitting for 270 damage each time you attack with a full bench. But again, Eternatus VMAX of course will be our main attacker in this deck. We will have to work with the other Pokemon cards in this deck so that we can have a good, solid, and consistent deck. So again, we have a 2-2 line for Eternatus VMAX. So as a staple for an Eternatus VMAX deck, of course we have 4 copies of Crobat V, especially for its Dark Acid ability, which allows us to draw up to 6 cards on our hand. So to make this deck even stronger, we have Alolan Persian GX with 200 HP. It has the Smug Face ability. Basically, this thing is immune to all attacks and effects of anything, any Pokemon that is a tag team, Ultra Beast, or any Pokemon that uses special energy will not be able to affect this Pokemon. So this is a good addition to this deck, being able to resist a lot of Pokemon decks out there. It has the attack Claw Slash, which does 120 damage for 1 dark energy and 2 colorless. Also its GX attack, Stalking Claws, for 1 dark and 2 colorless energy. You can do 120 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So this can be very useful on some instances, but mostly for its ability Smug Face, this thing can basically win you games just on its own. So again, we have a 1-1 line of Alolan Persian GX in this deck. I also added in 1 Absol with the Dark Ambition ability. It basically adds an extra retreat cost to your opponent's basic Pokemon. So this is a really nice card to add in here to just disrupt your opponent's basic Pokemon. But also its Shadow Seeker attack, it does 30 base damage. Its cost is 1 dark and 2 colorless. This attack does 30 more damage for each retreat cost on your opponent's active Pokemon. So this can be very useful, especially when you are facing off against Pokemon that has high retreat cost. Next up, I also have a 2-2 line of Galarian Obstagoon from Champion's Path with the ability Wicked Ruler. Once during your turn, you can have your opponent discard cards from their hand until they have 4 cards left. And also its Knuckle Impact, which does 180 damage for 3 colorless. You can't attack the next turn, but you can always just switch it out. But for 180 damage for 3 colorless, this one's really nice, especially when you're facing off against the Decidueye that's immune against Eternatus VMAX attack and things like that. This way we have a Pokemon in our deck that is not a basic, that is not a V or a GX, that is able to attack for 180 damage constantly. So with the disrupt and also its attack power, this one is a nice addition to this deck. One of my favorite additions to this deck though is a 2-2 line of this Galarian Weezing with its ability Neutralizing Gas. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent's Pokemon in play have no ability except for Neutralizing Gas. So basically your opponent can't use any of their ability. They can't use Zacian's Intrepid Sword, they can't use the Dene, they can't use Crobat, they can't use Jirachi. Any ability that is necessary to get their hand going, this one will shut that down. But it also has the attack Severe Poison for just 1 dark energy. Your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned, but instead of 1 damage counter in between turns, you're actually putting 4 damage counters to your opponent's active. So this one's really nice. So I have a 2-2 line of this Galarian Weezing in this deck. And lastly, I have Sableye V with those chip damage towards your opponent. This one actually I think is the most dangerous in this deck. This is even more powerful than Eternatus VMAX with Crazy Claws. If your opponent already has a lot of damage on them, Crazy Claws will do 60 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active. So this one can do thousands and thousands of damage towards your opponent. So this one can basically finish off any strong opponents that you have that has damage counters on them. And for just 2 dark energy, this one is definitely a contender, and I had to have this, and so I included 2 of these in this deck. As for items, I have 2 energy switch, 1 ordinary rod, 3 quick balls, 3 switch, 1 black market stadium, and 1 Galar Mine Stadium. As for support, I have 3 Boss's Orders, 2 Marnies, 4 Piers, and 2 Professor's Research. As for energy, I have 2 Capture Energy. I also have 4 Hiding Energy in this deck, 2 Weakness Guard Energy. A lot of fighting type decks really boast about how they can one-hit KO any Eternatus VMAX, but with this Weakness Guard Energy, we can protect ourselves from that and be able to survive any attacks from those fighting type matchups. And I also have 7 Dark Energy. And that's pretty much it for my Eternatus VMAX deck. And I have been very successful in winning a lot of games with this build. But enough talk, let's see some gameplay. Okay, so in this matchup, we will be facing off against a Mewtwo and Mew Grass Box deck. So we are facing off against Mewtwo and Mew tag team, and there's going to be a lot of grass type basically in this deck. So for the meantime, we have 2 Zigzagoons. Of course, the second one we're going to reserve until we're able to use that headbutt tantrum ability to get a chip damage on one of our opponent's Pokemon. And there it is, the Mewtwo and Mew tag team, and they are looking to heal a lot with that Vileplume. And so I basically just used Zigzagoon here to do a chip damage on this Rowlet and Exeggutor tag team, because it does accelerate evolution a lot. And with a quick ball, I thought of using again coughing, wheezing line to disrupt our opponent, especially against Mewtwo and Mew tag team. With the wheezing in the active, they actually cannot attack because if you didn't know, Mewtwo and Mew tag team relies on the ability to attack. So without the ability, they cannot attack unless they do use the GX attack, which lets it deal 200 damage, but it will have to use the GX attack. So here I used Piers to get a Galarian Weezing and a Capture Energy. So I evolved that and will use Capture Energy. And with the Capture Energy, I decided to get a Eternatus V onto our bench, because we will need that extra attack power to be able to beat our opponent's tag teams here. And at this point, I was actually thinking of setting up the Persian GX, because again, it is immune to tag teams. So for now, their Mew 3 is unable to attack because, again, Galarian Weezing is disrupting it. They are gonna use a Great Potion, but the poison is still there. Yeah, but they can always retreat with that air balloon attached to the Mew 3 tag team. So again, Alolan Persian is on my mind here, but setting it up, I'm still thinking of what to do after our next few turns. I think I actually should have set it up instead of Eternatus V, but sometimes when you're in that moment, you know, making decisions sometimes is very difficult. So they do switch out to this other tag team, Buzzwole tag team. We do get another capture energy, and at this point I think I started to set up the Alolan Persian. So with the Galarian Weezing, we're going to continue to severely poison our opponent, and on our next turn we can set up the Persian and just basically resist any attacks and effects from our opponent using putting our Alolan Persian into the active. The only thing that will go against it basically is the Vileplume GX, because it is not a tag team, and our opponent continues to set up their Mewtwo and Mew. And at this point I didn't know, I'm like, well, don't you know that Mewtwo can't attack? But I guess they had set up for Gossifleur to go into the active. I did use Marnie here. We do get a Sableye V, a Boss's Order, which is good, and a Pierce, and a Quick Ball, which is really good. So using a Quick Ball, Weakness Energy I thought we could use, but I opted not to get it because with Sableye V, it's the only one that's weak against grass, and I just went for the Crobat so that we can get more card in. And I was happy to see the Eternatus VMAX, and we can basically attack with that. The only next step is to get as many basic into our bench. So the only challenge I had here, I didn't know if I wanted to retreat and start attacking, but with all of the tag team that they have set up almost, they can basically hit our Eternatus VMAX for a large amount, and I didn't want that to happen. So I just continued to attack with Galarian Weezing, because again, the only one that has a lot of energy is Mewtwo tag team, so it can't hurt our Galarian Weezing unless again they use the GX attack. But realizing that they did set up the Eldegoss, they are able to attach a lot of energies on their other Pokemon, and I wasn't as scared here because Alolan Persian again is here, and with the Smug Face ability, most of our opponent's Pokemon can't hurt Alolan Persian. So the only thing I was really worrying about is the Vileplume on our opponent's bench, and they are setting up another one at this point. And here I just used Pierce to set up another Coughing Weezing, I think. Or yeah, I was thinking to get another one, but I decided to just get a Galarian Leanin to get this Obstagoon line going. And I also put an energy on Persian to also start setting it up, because once we put that into the active, it can start attacking. If they do put the Vileplume into the active, we can start attacking with the Persian. So Galarian Weezing, its poison was able to knock out the one Pokemon into the active, Gossifleur. So now they are able to attack with this Rowlet Executor tag team, knocking out our Galarian Weezing. And so I promoted Persian here, but we're just gonna use Ordinary Rod to get the Galarian Weezing line back into the deck, and I still won't be able to attack with Persian And here I think, okay, I opted to get a coughing and use the professor's research, and we got a bunch of other basic Pokemon to set up, which is really nice because now our Eternatus VMAX can attack for 270 in our next turn, because we do have Pierce to get another basic Pokemon onto our bench. So now our opponent has 2 Vileplume GX set up. It's the only one that can hurt our Persian. It deals 180 damage, which is very substantial amount, and that's basically gonna remove a lot of our immunity if we let our opponent knock it out. And we need that Persian basically because a lot of our opponent's main attacker is a tag team. So I just went and got another basic and used Eternatus VMAX to knock out the Vileplume. I had no other choice. I didn't want that Persian to get knocked out, and so Vileplume GX here is what they put into the active. They still need 4, but I you know what, with Eternatus VMAX all set up, actually we could just use Boss's Order to Boss's Order one of our opponent's tag teams and win this game. And yeah, so again, the teamwork or the combination of the cards in this deck is absolutely awesome for me. With the Persian and also Weezing, it just really helps out to set up everything, and it makes it very difficult for our opponent to get through. So that's the game. Alright, so we win the coin flip here and we go first. This matchup, actually, this is our first mirror match against another Eternatus VMAX deck. And actually this is a good showcase to show, because it'll show, even, you know, the deck that I do have, I only have two Eternatus VMAX line, and I rely solely on the combination that I have in this deck. And with another Eternatus VMAX matchups, mirror matchups such as this, I basically make Galarian Weezing as the hero against other Eternatus VMAX decks. So as you'll see in this matchup, we'll see how we're gonna be utilizing Galarian Weezing to win against this win against our opponent's VMAX deck, Eternatus VMAX deck. So for the meantime, our opponent has Zigzagoon in their active. We do get an Eternatus V, and I have Absol and also Sableye V in our bench. And so Coughing is ready to go. That Marnie shuffle was a good thing for me as well. So Marnie can be a good thing. It can be a double-edged sword. You can be disrupting your opponent or helping them out. Just in this case, I had really good cards in my hand right now. So I'm gonna use Pierce here, and see what I end up using. Get a Crobat V and a Capture Energy. So Capture Energy, which gives us one more Pokemon onto the bench. So setting up Meowth, and gonna use Crobat V's ability here to get 3 cards, and we get an Eternatus VMAX to evolve. So that's a plus for us, and we can knock out this Zigzagoon for 1 prize card. So the speed of the cards that we get from our first few shuffles was really good on our end. Our opponent is able to get their Eternatus VMAX as well. Now setting up the basic Pokemon onto their bench is going to be the next step for our opponent. They can easily, actually any Eternatus VMAX, well, depending on the build, can actually set up pretty quickly. But in this case, they weren't able to do that, and they were only able to hit for 90 damage. So we now have Galarian Weezing set up, and that's just gonna stay on the bench until it's ready to move into the active. Basically, my strategy here is to get our opponent to get as many Pokemon cards or Pokemon onto our opponent's bench, and then be able to use our Galarian Weezing to get our opponent to discard all of them. So here I basically pressure I'm pressuring our opponent here by attacking it. It should not be able to knock out our Eternatus VMAX, but again, being able to set up all those basic Pokemon into your bench can get really fast. So right now they have 2, now they have 3, and they can have a full bench in just a few turns here, or in just a few cards that they play from their hand, and they can basically knock out our Eternatus VMAX. So at that point, when I pressured our opponent, they can just get back and be able to knock out our Eternatus VMAX as well. So in my rule of thumb is it's either they have it or they don't. Sometimes you gotta take that chance, but if you do, you gotta have a plan B. So now our opponent is setting up a lot of their Pokemon onto their bench, and here my plan B is, even if they knock out my Eternatus VMAX, I will be able to set up my Galarian Weezing onto the active, and they will have to discard all of their Pokemon from their bench. So that's the plan here, and I'm hoping to get better hands, get better cards on our top deck, and go from there. So at this point, our opponent's Eternatus VMAX can knock out our Eternatus VMAX. So 270, they get 3 prize cards for it. I'm going to promote, well, I discarded the Absol and Zigzagoon, and I will be promoting Galarian Weezing at this point. And so that forces our opponents to discard 3 cards from their bench. They do still have the upper hand because this Eternatus VMAX can just knock out any of our Pokemon at this point. Yeah, so I use Ordinary Rod so that we can get our Eternatus VMAX line back into the deck and get the 1 energy card as well. So we have, I didn't have much option here, so this Eternatus VMAX I just basically poisoned at this point. It still has 90 HP, or less now, 50, and so unless they have another energy, they can't retreat unless they have a switch. So if they have a hiding energy to put on the active, then they won't be able to retreat without adding another energy on Eternatus VMAX on their active. But they do need that to attach on the second Eternatus VMAX on their bench to be able to attack. So at this point, I was feeling confident a little bit that we were able to kind of stall just a tad bit. And with that shuffle, I do get a Professor's Research, which actually made me kind of happy that we had other options. So we're down. We are down to, I mean, our opponent is down to 2 prize cards. So Galarian Weezing's ability is now it's not in effect anymore. So again, they can get 8 cards, 8 Pokemon in their bench, increasing Eternatus VMAX attack. So we get another coughing. I do use the Galar Mine and Professor's Research here, and I was so happy to see this Eternatus VMAX card to evolve our Eternatus VMAX. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough Pokemon, but with the Hiding Energy, we can switch into Alolan Meowth, because now our opponent's VMAX Eternatus is knocked out, and we get 3 prize cards for that off of the poison of Galarian Weezing. So now even if they do knock out our Alolan Meowth, we will be able to survive another turn and deal damage to their attacker. So right now, Eternatus VMAX is the only attacker they have, and if they did attack our Meowth, then we will be ahead in dealing damage to their Eternatus VMAX. And I guess they didn't want that. They saw that, and so they promoted Sableye IV into the active. But with the cards we have on hand, I think Boss's Order is the best option here, by just getting their VMAX. Actually, no, because at this point I only needed 2 prize cards left, and the only thing that I needed to do was get more Pokemon onto my bench to be able to deal a lot of damage. So at this point, I just Boss's Order Slowbro V, because it has 3 retreat costs. My mistake was putting that black market there, because once I knocked out Slowbro V, I will only get 1 prize card off of that, because we are fighting a dark deck. So I thought that was a big mistake on my part, but they did switch out to Zigzagoon. I think they are being pressured. I don't know if they know what's a good strategy here or what's a good move. But at this point I was actually trying to figure out what to do too, so that I can win faster. I was thinking of targeting the Eternatus VMAX on our opponent's bench, but that was gonna take a turn or 2 before we can win against that. So I got worried here, because if they were able to, if they had a Boss's Order, they could actually Boss's Order one of our 2 prizers here and win the game, but they didn't. So I think, I don't know what I did here, but I just used Marnie, and I did get a Persian off of that, and I attached an energy, used Zigzagoon, and continued to target Slowbro. So again, at this point, it's either they have it or they don't. If they do have a Boss's Order, they could potentially win this game. So I was taking a risk. They did put their Eternatus VMAX into the active, and I was just hoping that they didn't have a Boss's Order at this point, because they can win this at any point in time. So there's their fourth Eternatus VMAX. Pokemon Communication, if they have a Crobat, they could get more cards off of that. but they got a Zigzagoon, and now they are relying on top deck. They will use Dread End, and that's I think I was so happy to see Crobat though. That will help us to get more cards onto our hand. And I got the weakness guard, and with the hiding energy I can use Persian's GX attack to target the Slowbro V, winning us the game. And I thought that was a very close one. Without that boss's order, we won this game. So good game. Alright, so in this matchup, we actually facing off against another mirror match here. I really like this type of content because I wanted to compare between two Eternatus VMAX deck, and I just wanted to see who has the upper hand when it comes to mirror matches. So now we have Eternatus V, use capture energy, and have another Eternatus V on our bench. And we're gonna use this quick ball to get a Crobat, so we can get 3 more cards off of that. And let's see, I did use a Zigzagoon, I guess, to take care of that, to add 1 damage on that Meow. And so Black Market, I held off from using that because we are fighting off against a dark deck as well, so that will benefit them as well, so I didn't want to just use that. So by using Power Accelerator, we were able to put another energy on our benched Eternatus V. So Yveltal on our opponent's side, that one is pretty nice. It can discard your opponent's special energy, attach one attached special energy, but what makes it good also is free retreat. Sometimes other decks use that to pair with Bird Keeper, because once they get cards off of that, they switch out, and then Yveltal can just retreat for free and they can attack. So there goes the Eternatus V of our opponent. Our opponent's Yveltal will use Derail to get rid of our capture energy there. So our top deck, we get Eternatus VMAX, so we can use that. Crobat V would be a good option here too. I did decide to use Black Market at this point. And I will use Pierce. And here so here I decided to use Pierce to get a Linun, because I wanted to be able to use Obstagoon, disrupt our opponent, and with that actually we got the Obstagoon line completed and Eternatus VMAX. So I was so happy with that. And with the 2, I didn't get any special energy using Pierce, because again Yveltal can just either take it out, and also their Persian, just as we used Persian in this deck, it's gonna get immune. It's gonna get immunity. It won't get damaged or affected by any of our attacks if we stuck to any special energy attached on our Eternatus VMAX. So having those 2 normal dark type energy on our VMAX actually puts us in a good standing against our opponent's Alolan Persian. So we can attack it, we can knock it out, don't have to worry about it at that point. So our opponent here is able to set up their Eternatus VMAX already, but in our next few turns I was basically eyeing on that Obstagoon to evolve and start disrupting our opponent's hand. So at this point, Persian uses the GX attack and it knocks out the Obstagoon line, so I had to go back to 0. I had to basically scratch out the Obstagoon plan there. So having that Weezing evolved is a good thing for me. I'm really, again, that's my that's basically the card that will disrupt our opponent's Eternatus VMAX deck. Because again, relying on how many dark Pokemon is in the bench, that's how much damage Eternatus VMAX will do. And if we constantly use Weezing into the active to disrupt our opponent, they will discard all of those cards, those Pokemon cards. Then there's got to be a point where they won't have any more Pokemon to replace those, and Eternatus VMAX's attack will remain at a decreased it will not do as much damage. So basically Galarian Weezing is one of the key figures in this deck that I have. So we're gonna go with that. We're gonna continue to energize our Eternatus VMAX. We were able to knock out that Persian, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. I can start using special energies back again, and we should be okay at this point. I'm just gonna go ahead and use that hiding energy and attach it to Weezing, and I went ahead and used Crobat V to get 2 more cards, and we're just gonna use Dread End to hit for 270 against our opponent's Eternatus VMAX. So now they are feeling the pressure. They will have to either retreat with this Eternatus VMAX because he will get knocked out in the next turn, and they're gonna continue to I don't know, they're using a Zigzagoon here. Okay, they put 1 damage counter on our active. Yeah, so if you haven't seen one of my videos, this Eternatus VMAX, the Rainbow Rare, I got this off of a locked pack. So I was very happy. I was very happy to get that one, and I got one of the Eternatus V's in a locked pack as well. So I got a 1/1 line off of those locked packs, and the other line I actually traded for an Italian VMAX. I was able to get one off of the golden chest from the rewards, and so I had an extra one and traded that. Somebody had posted a 1/1 line of Eternatus VMAX in exchange for an Italian VMAX, so I took the chance because I did have the Italian VMAX that I want. I only have 2 basically in my collection, and that's all I need and that's all I want. And so I traded that, and I was happy to be able to get an extra line of Eternatus VMAX, and so I was able to get this deck going. I was so happy to get that. So going back to the game now, we were able to knock out that Zigzagoon, and they will put their Eternatus VMAX into the active. I don't know if they're able to knock out this Eternatus VMAX we have into the active, because if they need a whole bench for one, and they will only be dealing 270 damage. So I don't think it's gonna be enough, and they only got an Eternatus V. So at this point, we will take this knockout. Yeah. At this point, we can just knock out their Eternatus VMAX and get 3 prize cards for it. And I think I was thinking whether or not to retreat Eternatus VMAX so that he won't get KO'd by any means in the next turn of our opponent. So we will only get 2 prize cards for that because of the black market. So our opponent just passes. They are drawing nothing, and we're just gonna continue to attack, get a prize card for that. Zigzagoon didn't have an energy, so we can take a prize card for that. And we're looking good. Yep. So again, even with just a 2-2 line, Eternatus VMAX can be, and with a good team, good combination of cards in your deck, you can definitely win against other mirror matchups. So you don't need to spend a lot to get a good deck going. And so this one, I'm pretty happy with. And that's a look at my Eternatus VMAX deck. Again, my name is Joseph. Thank you so much for watching the Popsicle Knight channel. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to press the like button. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, consider subscribing if you haven't already for more contents like these. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care of yourselves and have a great day.